the Northwest Cavalryman Show, the podcast where your host, Rick Skolrud, discusses politics and news from Canada, the United States, and around the world, from a conservative perspective. Warning: professionally offended people and liberal crybabies may be triggered. Viewer discretion is advised. While we put the finishing touches on this podcast, you are invited to visit the show notes. There are links to all of Rick's social media, including his website where you can sign up to take the Canadian Firearms Safety Course, which is a prerequisite for obtaining your Canadian Firearms License, also known as a PAL. Rick teaches these courses in Maple Bay just east of Duncan on Vancouver Island, British Columbia. Now here's your host, Rick Skolrud.
Well, howdy everybody. Welcome to my live stream on this second day of Christmas. Howdy DJ. Thanks for signing in. It looks like my stream or my social stream ninja is only I have to go to each different live stream to send it out, but I don't think too many people are on Rumble, so they're probably not missing much. But hello Nelson from New Brunswick, how's it going? So tonight I was just going to talk about the 12. Hey Tracy, Merry Christmas to you too. I was going to talk about the 12 failures this year of Governor Trudeau of the great state of Canada. And yes, we do have some Trump trolls as well. So, yes. So I'm going to, actually I figure I'm going to start by playing some Christmas messages here to just kind of show you the difference in some of the messages from some of the leaders compared to our kind of deadbeat of a leader, Justin Trudeau. I guess I've given away that I don't really like him, as if anybody didn't know that. But this is, let's start with maybe Trump's first term messages, and then we'll compare that to Poilievre's last year's message. And then we'll go to Trudeau's this year's message before we finish off with some messages from Pierre Poilievre and Trump from this year. So,
President of the United States, it's my tremendous honor to finally wish America and the world a very Merry Christmas. For Christians, this is a holy season, the celebration of the birth of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. More than 2,000 years ago, the angel Gabriel appeared to Mary. He said, "Do not be afraid. You have found favor with God." The angel told her that she would give birth to a baby boy, Jesus, who would be called the Son of the Most High. 9 months later, Christ was born in the town of Bethlehem. The Son of God came into the world in a humble stable. Whatever our beliefs, we know that the birth of Jesus Christ and the story of this incredible life forever changed the course of human history. There's hardly an aspect of our lives today that his life has not touched: art, music, culture, law, and our respect for the sacred dignity of every person everywhere in the world. At Christmas, we give thanks to God and that God sent his only Son to die for us and to offer everlasting peace to all humanity. And we recognize that the real spirit of Christmas is not what we have, it's about who we are. Each one of us is a child of God. That is the true source of joy this time of the year. That is what makes every Christmas merry. Above all, during the sacred season, our souls are full of thanks and praise for Almighty God for sending us Christ, his Son, to redeem the world. Tonight, we ask that God will continue to bless this nation, and we pray that he will grant every American family a Christmas season full of joy, hope, and peace.
So, hey, before we carry on, how is the sound? Is the sound okay today? Are we getting any feedback, any echo, any multiple sound from the coming back off of the through the channel? Because I know sometimes I set everything up the same every week, and sometimes it works better than other times. So hopefully everything is working out. Just let me know in the chat if everything is working out okay, if the sound is coming through fine. So that was Trump's message from his first term in office. And I think that is, thank you, Dave, thank you, James. I think that's, a good way of giving the message. It's sticking to the theme of the season. It's a Christian holiday. And Pierre Poilievre, from his message in 2023, had a very similar type of feel to his message.
Merry Christmas. For Christians, Christmas is a time to celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ and the promise of peace on earth and goodwill towards men. For all Canadians, Christians and non-Christians alike, it's a time to come together with family, friends, and neighbors, to give thanks for the year that was and the one to come. But as we enjoy a moment of light in the long Canadian winter, I'd particularly like to thank those for whom Christmas is yet another workday, and often a difficult one. The nurses, doctors, and first responders who are on call every day, even holidays. The small business owners who are there to provide whatever it takes to get us through the pre-Christmas rush. The tradespeople who will be one call away from saving us from a last-minute renovation disaster. And the men and women of the Canadian Armed Forces who stand on guard 365 days a year, often faraway families on special days like this, and whose families make extraordinary sacrifices to keep us all safe. The Gospel of Luke tells us that the first people to learn of Jesus' birth on that first Christmas, all those years ago, were also working that day. It says that, and I quote, "There were in the same country shepherds abiding in the fields, keeping watch over their flock by night." How extraordinary to think that the greatest news of the Christian faith was delivered first not to the rich and powerful, but to the most humble, who just happened to be working nearby on that cold night. But it is in keeping with the whole nativity, which is extraordinary for how ordinary it is. A king who is greater than all kings, born in a manger, surrounded by cattle and greeted by shepherds. It is a story that upends all expectations and reminds us that Christmas has a message of hope and fulfillment and a promise for all of us equally. For my family, Anna, Valentina, and Cruz, I very much wish you a wonderful Christmas and much happiness in the new year.
So that was Pierre's message from last year. I don't think he did a video message this year. I've been trying to find it, but I didn't see his video message for this year. But he did send out a very nice tweet, and I'll read that in a little bit. But compare that message, Trump's message, and Pierre's message to this message, and then have your say about that.
Hello, everyone.
Sorry, I'm
Merry
actually
Christmas.
putting you through this, but
This is a time of year to slow down, to rest, and to connect with the people you love most. It's a moment to put our phones down, to put our politics aside, even when that one cousin makes it really hard, and to focus on what matters. For Christians, it's a time to celebrate the birth of Christ and think about his story of kindness, forgiveness, and faith. The lessons of his life are universal, and they inspire and comfort people every time they're told and retold. For so many, the holidays are a time of big family gatherings and feasts, of gifts and celebrations. But maybe it's a very hard time for you. If you're grieving, worried, or alone, this can be the toughest time of the year. It can be the loneliest. So let us all check in on the people in our lives who've not had an easy time this year and who may be needing us more than we know. For a lot of Canadians, Christmas is not a holiday at all. So thank you to our brave first responders, CAF members, healthcare and essential workers, and everyone who's on a job right now so that others can stay home safely. You embody what Christmas is really about: giving, gifts, food, and service to those around us. I wish joy to everyone who's celebrating today and comfort to those who are suffering. Wherever you are, I hope you find light and hope for the year ahead. Merry Christmas.
I gotta say, for some guy who's supposed to be a drama teacher, he really doesn't do a very good job at public speaking. He just seems so fake, so inauthentic. He just doesn't strike me as being a very real person. And it just, everything about him makes my skin crawl, to be honest with you. But I think, it's Christmas. You kind of have to put up with him and whatnot. But, here is, I'm going to play Pierre's 2024 message. This is, I'm going to read it out for you here. And then we'll go to, and then we'll finish off with Trump's, because Trump's is actually hilarious. But here's Pierre's 2024 message. This day is sacred for millions of Canadians. From coast to coast to coast, Christian families come together to mark the birth of their Messiah. Christmas is the story of a long-awaited Savior who came into the world among the poorest and most humble. It is the story of wise men and shepherds who were amazed to find that, in the words of one famous carol, the King of Kings lie thus in lowly manger. Canada is blessed to be home to so many wonderful Christmas traditions, whether their ancestors were from Kent or Kerala, from Angola or Anjou, or have been stewarding these lands since time immemorial. Each Christian community and family has their own way of marking this date, and many who do not share their faith nonetheless enjoy the warmth and festive spirit of this season. Christmas is a holiday deeply connected with giving, not just exchanging presents under the Christmas tree, but sharing one's time and treasure with the most vulnerable in our communities. Today, we think of those Canadians who are giving up their Christmas in service of others, of our emergency services, essential workers, and especially the brave men and women of our Canadian Armed Forces. On behalf of Canada's Common Sense Conservatives, I want to wish everyone celebrating today a very Merry Christmas. Even though that wasn't a video message, I just thought that it was so much more authentic, and so much more prime ministerial, I guess, I would say. And compared to Trudeau's, I think that he is just, he's just got more going for him. And he just knows how, to capture the feeling of the season quite a bit better than Trudeau. Trudeau never comes off as authentic, as real. He just comes off as a big phony. So that's my opinion of that. But before we get on to my list of the biggest liberal fails of the year, and there's more than this, I just want to play Trump's message because I think it is, it's one of the funnier messages of the year. Merry Christmas to all, including the wonderful soldiers of China who are lovingly but illegally operating the Panama Canal, where we lost 38,000 people in its building 110 years ago, always making certain that the United States puts billions of dollars in repair money, but will have absolutely nothing to say about anything. Also to Governor Justin Trudeau of Canada, whose citizens' taxes are far too high, but if Canada was to become our 51st state, their taxes would be cut by more than 60%. Their businesses would immediately double in size, and they would be militarily protected like no other country anywhere in the world. Likewise to the people of Greenland, which is needed by the United States for national security purposes and who want the U.S. to be there. And we will. Merry Christmas to the radical left lunatics who are constantly trying to obstruct our court system and our elections, and are always going after the great citizens and patriots of the United States, but, in particular, their political opponent, me. They know that their only chance of survival is getting pardons from a man who has absolutely no idea what he is doing. Also, to the 37 most violent criminals who and plundered like virtually no one before them, but were just given incredibly a pardon by Sleepy Joe Biden. I refuse to give a Merry Christmas to those lucky souls, but instead will say, go to hell. We had the greatest election in the history of our country. A bright light is now shining over the USA, and in 26 days we will make America great again. Merry Christmas. So, I think that is pure Trump, of course. He's trolling Canada, and that's going to get all the liberals all upset, and they're going to be crying and, accusing him of all sorts of stuff. I was actually watching a little bit of, unfortunately, CBC, and I tell you, some of the stuff, some of the people that they get on there are just so anti-conservative, anti-Trump, and just so pro-liberal still. It's just unbelievable. Just unbelievable. So, so this Trudeau skiing thing, I'm going to check that out afterwards, but, I noticed some of the comments on here. Somebody was saying that he was skiing in the same place where his brother died. They never actually recovered his brother's body. So, maybe there's a conspiracy theory going on there. But anyway, so I'm going to go. I'm just looking at some of these comments here. Yes, I hope his brother's spirit haunts him. So, anyway, so let's go to some of the 12 biggest failures of the Liberal Party, of the governor of the great state of Canada, Trudeau there. Hey, and if afterwards you think that I missed anything, of course I will miss something. I can't cover all of them. There's just so many of them. But number 12 on my list of the top 12 failures is his 4 big losses this year in by-elections. Of course, we have Cloverdale, Langley City by 66%. The Conservatives won. He lost Montreal, LaSalle, Amard, Verdun, or whatever. So, and that's those are like strongholds for the Liberals. They also lost Elmwood in Manitoba, and of course Toronto St. Paul's. So that is my number 12 on the big Liberal failures. How could he lose? How could any Liberal lose those strongholds? Well, leave it up to Trudeau. He is the most hated prime minister probably in our history. Comes in as one of the most loved prime ministers by a bunch of goofballs who don't really remember politics, I guess, or don't have a very short memory, didn't remember his father. And then we have this, this guy now 8 years later being the most, or 9 years later now being the most hated prime minister in the history of Canada, and he can't even win Liberal strongholds. So the 11, what I have here for 11 is the Liberal revolt, of course. The Liberal revolt. Everybody is now revolting against everybody in their party. There's like, I think up to 60 MPs who are revolting, and a whole bunch are saying they're not going to run again because, of course, why not? Why would you run again if you're going to fail so spectacularly in the next election? I think Sean Fraser, when he said he wasn't going to run again, there's been some talk on some of the news outlets that it's because he's being basically humiliated every time he stands up in Parliament. So so they're kind of revolting against him. They are revolting, but they're revolting as well. 10, the military spending and Trump calling for Canada to either make up its, 2% of our GDP or get kicked out of NATO, which I'm not sure NATO is really, I guess NATO, we kind of still need it, but it's become more too political, I think. And they moved too far east, and that's part of the reason why we have this war in the in Ukraine, because we kept on pushing the boundaries, but Canada hasn't been pulling its weight. And I'm not saying that there wasn't some problems before, but it was after Trudeau came to power that they set the 2% goal, and he still hasn't met it. So that's, I think that is another number 10 on my list of Trudeau and the great state of Canada, his failures. Number 9, and actually 9, 8, and 7 are all to do with India, because that is a huge failure in my books. The Indian news reporting cocaine on Trudeau's plane. Now, of course, I have no evidence that that really existed, but there are plenty of people who are saying that Trudeau had cocaine on his plane. And, maybe it's true. I can't say that Trudeau is a drug user, but not for sure. But it is my opinion because of everything that I see and how I see him act and the look on his face and his eyes and everything, that I believe it. I'm just going to say I believe it. And with the Indian news reporting that his plane was grounded not for mechanical reasons, but because there was drugs on board, I say that is a major, major failure. So next, number 8, Trudeau causes a rift with India over not extraditing criminals. So we have all of these criminals, these people that India considers to be terrorists, running around Canada, and Trudeau is refusing to extradite them. Why? It doesn't make any sense to me. They're not any use to us. It doesn't mean, oh, I pressed the wrong button, so here comes up. It doesn't make any sense to us that Trudeau would keep these people around, especially since all of the problems that we've had with those 2 guys in Toronto and the other guy from Pakistan trying to head down to New York and caught in Canada. Why are we keeping these people here? And, they claim that one of those terrorists, Niger, was assassinated by the Indian government. Well, that's part of this. That's part of his big failure. Why does he come out and say that? Even if it were true, he didn't have the evidence to support that. And he comes out and says that and causes this big rift. And number 7, this recently happened. The number one wanted criminal in India is just got bail and is walking around Canada. He's India's number 1 most wanted, and he's walking around Canada on bail. That's another big failure. We should be kicking these people out. But enough of India. Let's go back to Canada here. Number 6, the body dump of the corpse of our economy happening on the 16th of December when Karina, I always want to say something else, but Karina Gould just dumps off the fall economic statement and then runs away and hides. And then it comes, turns out that when you flip through it, you get $62 billion deficit, 53 or 55% more than what was allotted or what was estimated to be. So what the hell? That's got to be, that's a major failure in my books. Number 5, out of control immigration. Maybe I should have kept that and, put that a little higher on the list, but number 5, that's fairly high still. And then he totally reverses his immigration policy because he finally realizes after all this time that we can't handle all of this immigration, and people are coming here without a lot of vetting. As a matter of fact, the borders are. I don't have a clip of it, but the borders are in the U.S. stated on in an interview with Vasi Kapelas how he believes that Canada's immigration requirements and getting into Canada is just so much easier than the States. And he's not wrong. He's not wrong. You can just show up and claim you're a refugee. You can even be from the United States and claim you're a refugee, and they got to let you in. And when they let you in, they can't turn you back. They have to give you an immigration hearing. Now, I worked for Canada Customs one summer back in, actually 2 summers, but 84. And it's just amazing. You can't actually just turn people away at the border. You have to let them in and give them a hearing. It may have changed, but that's what it was back then. So that is horrendous. So, you know what? I think So number 4 was his total reverse of his policy. So the out of control immigration, and then his total reverse of his policy after that. Number 3 of my top 12, foreign interference. Of course, we've got the foreign interference and all of the traitors that are in government. We've got those 11 traitors, foreign interference, and the 11 traitors. We still don't know who they are, and we don't have any prosecutions of them yet. I just can't imagine how slow we work and how this could even be allowed to continue on as long as it has. Now, I understand that it takes a lot of time to get the investigations off the ground, but to me, this is just too important. And I understand that you have all of the problems with criminal investigations, but the RCMP, since I've left, I think they have doubled their budget. And I don't know if they've doubled their personnel, but they've doubled their budget, something like that. They need to be properly resourced, and they need to get down to business. When you see, other agencies in other countries doing a far better job, it is very, very embarrassing. And I could tell you story upon story upon story of just how embarrassing it is when you're a member of the RCMP and you find out that other police forces in other jurisdictions who aren't supposed to be as good as you, just wiping the floor with what they're able to do compared to what we were able to do just because of budget and underfunding and whatnot. I remember once when I was flying back from Japan, this must have been about 30 years ago or so, I was on a plane and I was reading the National Post, and the story was how the FBI actually came into Canada to conduct an investigation that the RCMP should have been conducting. And the reason they did that is because there were there were U.S. victims. It was a financial crime. And I was so embarrassed. I was still in the RCMP at the time. I was so embarrassed that we had to have a foreign police force come in and do what we should have been doing. It was so embarrassing. But anyways, that's number 3. Got to get on that foreign interference. Got to get those names. Got to clean up Parliament and start throwing some people in jail. And the fact that we're even leaving people, we're allowing people to sit in Parliament who we know have been corrupted with foreign interference. It's unbelievable. Mary Ng, for example, I think she's the highest situated member of Parliament and a cabinet minister. The fact that she is implicated so highly in this, it's unbelievable that we allow her and everybody else, all the other 11 names, to even stay in Parliament. It's unbelievable. I'm sure that Trudeau's name is on there as well, but that's just my opinion. Number 2, the Green Slush Fund. Now, I guess I could have added on there the Arrive scam, but to my mind, to my way of thinking, the billions and billions and billions of dollars that the Green Slush Fund, the SDTC scandal has come up with, I think that is far more incredible than the Arrive scam. The money involved here. The Arrive scam was, I guess I could add that in, the two of them, the two big financial scams of the year, the Green Slush Fund and Arrive scam. But Green Slush Fund for sure. It was basically a fund where any liberal supporter just could get their hands on billions of dollars, hundreds of millions and billions of dollars. It was unbelievable, unfreaking believable that so much money went out the door and how corrupt that was. And people like Champagne, he is really closely related to that slush fund. And also Gilbo, he's also implicated in that. They're still sitting in Parliament. They're still in cabinet. It's unbelievable. So that, and my number 1. Now this is I'm not sure everybody will agree with me, but my number 1 is the resignation of Chrystia Freeland. And the reason why I put that as number 1 is it has shaken up the Liberals. It hasn't, it's actually probably good for the country, but it's a failure for the Liberals. You never get the finance minister resigning on the day that she is about to drop some kind of financial statement, either the budget or the fall economic statement. That is just completely wild. That has got to be the biggest failure of the year. Probably good for the rest of the country because everybody is now, even the last holdouts have probably said, hey, you know what? This Liberal government is just completely gone downhill. Now, I love Trump's little dig on her, saying how she will not be missed, that she was totally toxic. I totally agree there. She apparently in polls is polling as number 1 to replace Trudeau. I can't even imagine that. That is so embarrassing for the country. But as long as they don't get into power again, I don't know. It's kind of it's kind of okay for me, you know. So that's my list. That's my list. I know there's a lot of other things. Let's hear what y'all have to say. I don't know if anybody is actually in my chat with. Nobody's in my chat with Rumble, so we'll just stick with the YouTube here and see what's going on. Put in the chat what you think are the top failures of the year. Going back to the chat. Oh, by the way, if you haven't already, you should get yourself a Christmas libation. As I was talking to, I think it was James before that, I decided to go with my usual Buffalo Trace, and then I'll maybe have a spiced rum afterwards. Because I was having trouble deciding which I should go for. So I just decided I'd have a little bit of both. Buffalo Trace now, and then maybe a spiced rum afterwards. Okay, so let's go down here. James says, revolting doesn't mean revolting if they just whisper and plan on doing nothing. Yes, that's true, but they're both revolting and revolting in my mind. Okay. No man can sit like Justine. That's true. Yantas. Bagels. Zero. Okay, so let's go to immigrants. Oh, okay. I'm not sure. I should have repeated that, but missing hundreds of millions of our tax dollars. I think it's billions, actually. If you, I know a lot of you probably watch Moose on the Loose. He does this thing at the end of his videos where he goes to a Canadian government website, and they list all of the billions that Canada is giving away. That is, you know what, if we just got rid of all of those giveaways to foreign countries, we could probably balance the budget. We'd have to cut as well, because there's a lot of things that we're paying for internally that we pay for that are a waste as well. But definitely got to give away, stop giving away our money. We just can't afford it. Get your own house. I always said, and I said this during the first Trudeau, always said this, we need to get our own house in order before we start trying to get everybody else's house in order. It just doesn't make any sense at all. Lynn B. Jagmeet can't go visit India. Yeah, he's banned from India. He's not an Indian citizen. He was born in Ontario. So I know a lot of people say, "Oh, deport him, send him back home." Well, unfortunately, he is home. We can't get rid of him. Let's see. Karen Gould, body dump. Yeah, Karina Gould, the body dump. It's the corpse of our economy. They've just totally destroyed it. But when she did that, it just reminded me so much of a couple of cases I worked in Surrey, and a body dump just came to mind. I just had to say it like that. Jagmeet has an Interpol warrant. Does he really? I didn't know that. I know he's not allowed in the U.S. either. They don't want him there. But I didn't know he had an Interpol warrant. That's news to me. If you have a link, I know you can't put links in chat, but if you have a link, you can send it. I think you can still send links in the actually, when you do send a link in comments, it gets hidden, so that's not really a good idea either. But so Trudeau cut in line in BC ski slopes and disrespected families trying to enjoy their holidays. That's what it was about. Probably because he thinks he's the king, the ruler, and all of his security personnel probably got there. He, if he had any brains, he would stand in line and actually talk to people, and, put up with people calling him names and disrespecting him. But you know what? A lot of Canadians would, even if they don't like him, would be polite to him. If he had the testicular fortitude, I like to say, he could just stay in line and talk to people. Don't cut in line. Stealing Canadian firearms, that's another thing. And I have a few. I'm just going to say a few. Not going to tell you how many, but I have a few that if some unforeseen circumstances he doesn't get kicked out, then I will be having to turn it in. But that is yeah. I've done a lot of videos on firearms and stuff like that. So yeah, don't get me started, James. Don't get me started. So we believe CSIS is credible. I think they want to do a good job. And I think that they're handcuffed just like the police are. But yeah, they're also very political. And when I found out that they have to get their warrants approved, the approval that they go through for their warrants, it's actually kind of incredible. Like I know when I was in the back working, we didn't have to wait for a warrant like that. Unfortunately, we had to, if we were in a small town, we had to travel because they made it. They took it out of the hands of justice of the peace, and they put it into the hands of judges. So if you didn't have a judge in your town, I remember one town we had to drive. It was like a whole day. We'd have to drive half a day and then drive back half a day just to get a warrant signed. And if it took more than an hour to get the warrant signed, you had to stay overnight. So is CSIS credible? I think they want to be. I think they try to be. But I think they're handcuffed. I think they're political. And I think there's a lot of people higher ups. The higher ups in all of these agencies, I don't trust. I absolutely don't trust them because they got there for a reason. They were, I guess I'll just leave it at that. Gould, I want to call her a ghoul. She should be at home feeding her newborn baby, and that's true. Like, but anyway, I mean, to each their own. I mean, sometimes, she could afford to stay home. Really, like, it's not like they don't have lots of money. They get $200,000 a year. They get 3 times as much as most Canadians do, sometimes more than that. Just confiscate Trudeau. Yeah, just throw him in jail. UK is starting with digital ID for the younger crowd. Oof. Yeah, that will be a total failure. I hope we don't go to that. Now there's some, I guess some people have a lot of benefit or can see a lot of benefits in it, but I just don't trust the government. I don't want everything to be tied to my phone. Like if you're in British Columbia, there's this thing called the BC Services app. It's actually kind of convenient. It'll help you sign into different websites and whatnot. But I had to change my phone recently and it didn't work. And I guess that's kind of a form of digital ID, but I'm just not, I'm not sure I want it to be mandatory. Just like your digital currency, that I think is a total bad idea. But I don't know. Let's go back here. NG is a watcher, controller. I bet she is, yeah. And of course, we have all those Chinese police stations. I don't know exactly what they were doing other than harassing the diasporous, the Chinese diasporous population. But I guess if you had people back home in China, they were, threats and trying to keep people in line, which, I mean, how we could even not, I mean, we know about those, and apparently there's still some up and running. How could that even be a thing? It just doesn't make sense to me. Double Randy isn't in jail. That's true. That is one of their failures, having the two Randys. But those are the scams, Now he wasn't part of the SDTC scandal, I don't think, but that was its own scam in and of itself. One of the big failures, didn't make my top 12, but there's just so many. How do you even come up with or have a list that big? You'd probably be here 2 hours talking about it. Michael LeBlanc mired the rank fire of the RCMP as long as I can remember, even if they cheated in the road speed game. Actually, I've never known anybody who cheated running radar. I always gave a 20 kilometer, basically, we would call it like, basically it's a freebie. The first 20 kilometers, we wouldn't stop people. And then I always wrote it down too. Now there's a couple times I didn't write it down. I didn't give people a break. Writing it down, basically, there are some jurisdictions where it's bracketed. So the first 15 kilometers, second 15 kilometers, and there's other jurisdictions where each kilometer has a dollar value, and I would always give a 15 kilometer break. So I gave them a 20 kilometer break to start with, and then I wrote down, the price to the lower speed bracket. So, and I think most of the members I know did that. Now, I had heard that the Alberta sheriffs stopped doing that, or they were giving less discretion, but I don't know if that's true or not. And I think that was one of the reasons why they wanted, the Alberta government wanted to get rid of the RCMP on highway patrol, because we used a lot of discretion. But I don't know. And it wasn't everybody. And that was a long time ago. So they may have changed things. Let's see. Okay. Let's see. Look, I think I've censorship that done blows my mind. I think I've actually pretty much caught up with everything. Ariel Sky says, "It's not my king. Jesus is the only king." I think at this time of year, I think that it's probably good that we acknowledge that, this and also Easter. But yeah, what really got me about Trudeau, and I guess I could list this as one of Trudeau's big failures, is every time he talks in front of an audience, he's so phony. But not only that, he says, Canadians want this, and it's like he's trying to speak for all of us, and he speaks for none of us. So yeah, I don't know. I just don't. I just don't think that it's his whole persona in front of the cameras is a joke. It's so phony. And I think that as well. So Lynn, you're from rural Alberta. Haven't you've seen two police officers in the past 15.5 years. I actually served in rural Alberta. See, if you don't see the police, it's usually because you're not a bad person. That's it. But we're also very, I say we, I haven't been a member now for 5 years. Wow, I've been out for 5 years. We're retired. But still, it's a good thing if you don't see the police, because we never get invited to the parties that aren't causing problems. Let me put it to you that way. The parties that we are invited to, we're not invited to by the owner of the party or the person throwing the party. It's all because of somebody else. Yeah, there are less members these days, especially even on the road. I think the sheriff's department are doing a lot of the highway patrol. So in Alberta, I left Alberta in 2002. I went to Japan, and then when I came back to British Columbia. I started in BC in 85 as a special constable. In 87, I went to Alberta as a regular member, and then left in 2002. So in Alberta, I was in Evansburg. So I was lived in Entwistle, and then I went up to Swan Hills. Then I took some time off and got my commercial pilot's license. But unbeknownst to me at the time, I didn't realize I had Native DNA, because when I applied for air section, I was told I was not the right color, and I had to be Native Indian. And turns out I am, or I do have a low percentage. And had I known that, maybe I would have gotten into air section and flown, but I didn't. Went to High Prairie, Alberta, and then went down to Banff. Then I went to Japan, not with the RCMP. I took some time off, but I bought my 3 years back so I could retire at the same time. So I had to pay basically everything. And then I went to Surrey, my second stint in Surrey, because I was there as a special constable. And then headquarters, Burnaby, back to Surrey, up north, and then back to Surrey, and that's where I retired out of Surrey. No, I'm not still flying. I can't afford it because I never got a job flying, and I should have actually took the leap and got out of the RCMP and flown commercially, but I didn't, and now I'm too old. So, and I'd have to renew a lot of licenses. So, I don't fly anymore. I'd like to. I would like to actually. I've always wanted to build one of those kit planes, and I might do that someday. Probably not, though, seeing how I'm 60, and to renew my license, I would have to I'd have to do a medical every year, and I just can't afford it. Building, renovating a house and whatnot. Yeah. So no, I'm not still flying. As you talking about the behind me, yeah. So I can't remember who gave that to me. Yeah, but I figured I'd put that up. Yeah. So anyway, that is my. So I just wanted to say this. So this is the second day of Christmas. I think a lot of people think that the 12 days of Christmas are the lead up to Christmas. That's Advent. But the 12 days of Christmas actually start on Christmas Day. And then on January the 5th, which is 2 days before Orthodox Christmas. one day before the Amish Christmas. I don't know why there's so many different Christmases, but anyway, when I was looking at this today, the funny thing that I found was the octave, or the octave, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, octave or octave, is on January the 1st, and that is the feast of the circumcision. I mean, why would you feast that? That's the circumcision of Christ. I mean, I don't know. I tell you what, if I gotta feast that, I'm gonna be having one of these, because that is just crazy. But anyway, I thought that was funny. I guess Christmas is different because of the Julian calendar or something like that. So I don't know. We don't celebrate the 12 days of Christmas. I'm probably going to keep my lights up for the full 12 days, and then I'll just shut them off. But anyway, so this is the second day of Christmas, and we'll have at least one more live stream during the 12 days of Christmas, and that will be in the new year. So Merry Christmas, everybody. I hope everybody had a great Christmas and will continue to have a great Christmas season. And Happy New Year, or Happy Feast of the Circumcision, which I just thought that was hilarious. Maybe I shouldn't, but I just thought that was hilarious. But thank you for tuning in tonight. I'm going to go upstairs and spend some time with my wife and harass my wife, probably more like it. Get her to get off of her Japanese YouTube channels. I'm not sure exactly where she finds her Japanese stuff, whether it's YouTube or someplace else. But anyway, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to spend some time with the wife and maybe have some wine with her. I got to finish my bourbon first and then have some wine with her. And y'all have a safe rest of your Christmas season and rest of your second night of Christmas, second day of Christmas, and a happy New Year. So we'll see you later.
You've been watching the Northwest Cavalryman Show. Thank you for tuning in this evening. I hope you've enjoyed the content. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and share with your friends and on social media. May God bless you. And if you're a liberal crybaby, bless your heart. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you next Thursday.